Y'all remember the guy that, I can't remember his name, there was a preacher that, well, good morning, Facebook, we're just talking here.
I don't know what y'all
I can't remember the guy. He had a TV show and he smoked a cigar. He was a preacher. And he would cuss and all that stuff. And he had a huge TV audience. Anyway, these people that are around me, Facebook, they cuss and stuff. I'm trying to get them to not do that. We're going to talk today out of the book of Leviticus about the art of giving. Leviticus, for the probably the average reader, this might be one of the most boring books you've ever read in your life. And it's very redundant, repetitive. As I was looking at it with new eyes, I'm going to read just a little portion, and I want to talk to you today about what I think is the pith of this entire book, which is the art of giving. Look at chapter 1, and here's a little excerpt that will help us get some direction. If, this is verse 3 of chapter 1, if his offering is a burnt sacrifice of the herd, let him offer a male without blemish. He shall offer it of his own free will at the door of the tabernacle of the meeting before the Lord. Then he shall put his hand on the head of the burnt offering, and it will be accepted on his behalf to make atonement for him. This is the beginning of the explanations of offerings. And there are offerings for a variety of reasons. There are sin offerings, offerings of inadvertent misconduct, offerings for uncleanness. But basically, this book is about offerings. Now, it's called Leviticus because this is the job of the Levitical tribe, the tribe of Levi. The job of them was to be the priesthood. Now, every Levite was not a priest, but you had to be a Levite to be a priest in the Jewish culture. So the job of the Levites was to receive offerings. This is kind of where the church has gotten its historical tradition of operating on the basis of offerings. Giving, though, is so much more than a church situation, that really a church aspect of giving is the least of giving. I don't know if people think like that or not. I think when people start thinking about offerings or giving, they just automatically think about church. It's just, that's like what's been established. But that's, in my estimation, that's a real travesty. It's a crime, because the thing that I have learned by experience and seen by observation is possibly the most powerful act a human being can do is engage in giving. And I'm just going to break some things down that are right here in this Levitical copy that will give you some things to help you understand when, in fact, you are giving. A lot of people dispense goods, disperse things, and call it giving. And if you really understand what giving is, that they're really not giving. Because giving is something that's attached to the emotional part of a being. If there's no emotional connection to it, it's not a gift. It's just an exchange. It's something that you're doing in a compulsory, possibly kind of way. There are 5 things that I see here that are components of what true giving actually is. The first thing that is a criteria of a gift is that it needs to be perfect. Now, let's qualify that. I don't care what kind of gift you would be considering and making. When you see this without blemish, it's simply telling you you want to find in whatever category that you're going to be giving the best that there is in that category. And a category can range from something as small as a needle, a thimble and a needle, to a train, an airplane. You know, if you were going to make a gift of anything from the smallest thing you can think to the largest thing that you can imagine, if you were going to make that a gift, you want to do what is the best you can do. And that's it. That's what makes it amount to this without blemish situation. It's, I'm going to give you the best that I can give you of whatever it is that I'm going to offer to you. So the first component of a gift is, we can laugh about this. You know, people receive gifts from other people and immediately they don't like it, and it goes into a little closet to be re-gifted. You've heard of that? In other words, I received something from somebody, I didn't like it at all, and so I put it, and I thought, but you know, it's brand new, I haven't even used it. And so when you do that, the chances are really good that it's not a gift from you either, because all you're doing is just passing it on, but we call it regifting. That does not qualify as a gift if you're going to use the criteria set forth in Leviticus as what it takes to qualify as an acceptable offering. So those of you that laughed when I just talked about regifting, I guess maybe everybody in the world has done that at some point. I don't know if I've ever done it or not. I just know I've been around it. I don't kind of handle the gift giving department in our house overall, but when I give something, I get so excited about doing it. You know, I just can't wait because, you know, because I'm invested in it. So I do know personally what it is to give, but I also know what it's like to give an exchange, because it's just compulsory. It's not, there's no emotion involved. So I probably have regifted something. I don't know. But if I haven't, I've done the equivalent of that. I don't know. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that conduct does not rise to the level of what an offering actually is. I made the statement, I will wait till the end of this to tell you why this is so, that giving, I may say this several times, giving is very likely the most powerful act one human being can engage in toward another. The second thing that about an offering, for it to actually qualify as an offering, is it has to be willing. In other words, you have to want to do it. You have to be willing. It's willingly. It's not just, okay. It's like, my will is involved in this. I really want to give this. I really want to do it. If that component is not part of the gift, then it's not an acceptable offering. If, however, it is, then it keeps the momentum of the power of giving alive. This is the second aspect of the art of giving. I want to do this for you. I really want to do this for you. I really want you to have this. You've felt that before, haven't you? Mm-hmm. You know what it's like. I want them to have this so bad. Have you wanted to give something to somebody, but you didn't have the financial power to do it? But boy, I just wanted to do this. I want to do this for you so bad. And I have schemed. I have tried to come up with, how can I make this happen? Because there's something I want to do for so-and-so, and I want to do it so bad. I have schemed, and I have almost become a criminal, you know, because I wanted to do it so bad. You know what I'm talking about? That's the component of willingness. I want to do this. Then there's an interesting little thing here. It says, you've got to put your hand on the head of what you're offering. And in this case, it's a bullock. It's a live animal. And this is kind of part of what I'm talking about in the willingness department. It's that when the symbol of the hand on the head is that this is not separate from me. I am connected to this gift. I'm emotionally involved in this. This matters to me. This is actually something that's emerging out of my own essence. I put my head. Now, let me explain why this is so with this. There's a lot of people, I've been told, that have been taken to slaughterhouses where animals are killed, butchered for food. And after they have seen what goes on there, they have sworn off of meat. They become vegetarians because of what they saw. You have to imagine that as a young or a Jewish person, that you've raised this animal. You have fed this animal. You have touched this animal many times. And you're bringing this animal to make a gift of this animal, not just to give it and let it live happily ever after, but you're about to give this animal and in the process take its life. And you have to put your hand on its head, and if you read on, you have to cut the throat of the animal. That changes the perspective. There are some people that just like to hunt, and they hunt and they do what they call trophy hunting. They're looking for a certain amount of points on the antlers of the deer or whatever the animal is. They're looking for size. They're looking for something that is magnificent. And then they will take the animal, and they may or may not consume the meat. They'll have it mounted, or its head mounted. Sometimes the whole carcass will be mounted. And that is something that has never appealed to me. I know not long ago there was a huge furor over a lion that was killed by a dentist. And it's like, that's not my drive. But I look at it and I think, man, that's sad to me, it's sad for the lion to be killed. It's like, it's a beautiful, if you want to go and shoot one, do it with a camera. So you come back and it can continue to enjoy. Listen, I'm a meat eater, so I have slaughtered hogs and beef and did it for meat. Never cavalier about it. If you ever read about the American Indian, every time the Indians would kill, for the meat, they would go and, I say every time, culturally there were many tribes that participated. They called these animals their brother, put their hand on it, and they would thank it for providing food for the family. In other words, this is not something that you do in a cynical or a cavalier way. This is important. Now, this is just about offering an animal as a gift and taking the life of the animal, and it puts you in a whole different place emotionally. But if you can extrapolate from that, put it to any gift, this is an element that is required in the art of giving. You have to feel it. It has to be important to you. There are a lot of people that are just turned off from church just because of offerings, tithe and offerings. They just don't like church because they feel so put upon to give. It becomes this compulsory thing. It's almost like I'm paying my dues to be a part of this church, to be a part of this congregation. And that's sad and unfortunate, because when your giving life gets colored by something like that, and you become contemptuous of it, you are possibly becoming contemptuous of one of the most important. I'm not talking about giving to church. I'm talking about giving. I'm talking about just when one whole aspect of your life gets colored by one small aspect. That's a travesty. That's a shame. It's tragic, because giving is possibly the single most powerful act one human being can engage in toward another human being. Have I said that already? It needs to be said multiple times, because this is something that's gotten lost, I fear, to us in a large manner. There's people that don't like Christmas anymore because they say it's too commercialized. But, I love Christmas. I just love Christmas. And I love it. I love the food. I love the decorations. I love the gifts. I love being involved in giving. I love everything that comes to my mind with regard to Christmas. But my dad loved Christmas. Oh, that was his favorite time of year. He loved it. He loved Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. But Christmas was his favorite. And he would go all out for Christmas. So I kind of got it, I guess, maybe from him. It's just, I just love it. My wife loves Christmas. We just love Christmas. And she came from a family that wasn't big on Christmas. But because our family was, she saw how much fun it was, and it just became something she adopted to herself. But Christmas is arguably about giving. It's celebrating arguably the best gift that's ever been brought to this planet, in the form of a baby boy who we know is Jesus, that came to show us there is a simpler way of connecting with deity, with connecting with the Father, with connecting with the entirety of the universe itself. There's a simple way of having everything you would ever want at your command, at your behest. Which is another reason why I say that giving is possibly the single most powerful act one human being can engage in toward another. If that's true, then we should be adept at the art of giving. We need to give our best. We need to give it willingly. We need to do it with all of our heart. And we need to be emotionally engaged and involved in the act itself, thus the hand on the head. And then I've already mentioned this, the hand on the head, the other hand was used to cut the throat of the animal and offer up the life of that animal. In other words, kill it. In other words, no takebacks. When a man gives his life to a woman in marriage, it should be till death do us part. That's what it should be. Because that's a real gift. That's truly giving. And the same is true from the woman's perspective toward the man. Have I said this? Giving is possibly the most powerful single act one human being can do toward another. I will go so far as to say this, that once you understand the art of giving and you have used it, you will have the power. If you take this that I'm giving you and use this in your life, you can give your way out of any situation. There is no situation, whether it be emotional, relational, financial, there is no circumstance that if you apply these components of giving, which is the art of giving, to your life, in any level, in any area, you can give your way out of any situation. And finally, it says that this is for the atonement. ATONEMENT. If you look up the word atonement, it says something to the nature of making amends for. There's another phrase and it slips my mind, but it means the same thing. But I want you to look at this, and this does not violate that at all. If you break this word down from atonement to at one meant, there is so much power in giving that when I know people that have been estranged from each other, and when one person decided to give a gift to the person they were estranged from, it just dissolved that contention. It went away, and usually it breaks the person that's receiving the gift. If it breaks the person that's receiving the gift, it also breaks the person giving it. And there's a connection that happens. In other words, those two people become one. They become rejoined. People have so compartmentalized their spirituality because of religion to God, and have imagined God as a being. If I could do anything good for you, whether you've read Rob Bell's Love Wins, you've studied Deepak Chopra, Soul Sunday with Oprah Winfrey, what's the great masterful preacher in Fort Worth, T.D. Jakes. If you've watched T.D. Jakes, if you watch Joel Osteen, now many of these people have been branded as heretics by mainstream Christianity. It's unfortunate because, first of all, true Christianity does not indict other people. It doesn't call them names. It doesn't speak ill of them, even if you disagree with their position. It just doesn't do it. It's just not the Jesus way. You have a right to your position, but you do not have a right to force your position on somebody else. The thing that is happening in our spiritual understanding is you make a giant step forward when you understand that God is not a being. If your God is a being, then your God is only the size of the being that you imagine it to be. You say, well, mine's real big. Well, good. Good. It needs to be. But invariably, you will come to a day when that one, if that one is big enough, on this particular day, it's absent. You can't get it. You can't make contact with it. But once you dissolve the being aspect of God and you realize that God is the invisible, everywhere substance, that every minuscule aspect of this divine essence is intelligent and powerful. Intelligent enough to become anything that you can imagine. Powerful enough to become anything that you imagine. And when you start having relationship with the substance, the origin, the source of all things, one God, who is the Father of all, above all, through all, and in you all. When God becomes that, and not a being, not a person, not some capricious being, then you can stop fighting against this imaginary being, and that imaginary being will stop fighting against you. Thus, you'll start understanding, if God is for me, who can be against me? If the substance of all things is actually benevolent toward my personage, and is the integral substance of every personage that ever stands beside me, behind me, before me, above me, under me, then if that substance is for me, then the substance manifest in another being cannot be against me, because it's the same. It's at one meant. If you try to bring a gift to God, where do you go? How do you give something to the source of all things? The only way we can do it, thus the establishment of the Levitical tribe, was the physical presence of the Levites to stand and receive the gifts from people that was supposed to be for God. Now, understand something. The Levites were eating these gifts. This is how they were taken care of. Their job was to receive gifts from the rest of their brethren on behalf of God. It's not robbery to be equal with God. Are y'all here?
Mm-hmm.
You see, the only way I could ever make you believe that I love God is if I love you. If I don't love you, I can't. How am I ever going to convince you that I love God? Because you are an expression of God. Even if you disagree with me philosophically, politically, religiously, even if you disagree with me, if I do not allow that disagreement to circumvent me loving you, then I'm acting like the source of all things. If God is the source of all things, is there one thing that God is the source of that God would not love? Especially since that source itself is defined as love. You ever think, if people say, God, I thank you for loving me, what else can love do? What could love do other than love you? When we engage in giving, we're acting the most like Source. We're acting the most like God. Source is withholding nothing. Nothing is being withheld from Source. No matter what color a person is, no matter what their genetic origin is, if he or she imagines something, divine Source immediately is plastic to that imagination. Doesn't matter. It can be from the Orient, it can be from Europe, it can be from down under, it can be from South America, you can be from North America, you can be from Canada, you can be from Russia, you could be from another planet. And Source is going to be the same to you. I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore, I am the source of every change. Good? In other words, we've got to take this parameter off of God so that God is always bigger by an immeasurable amount than anything we'll ever encounter. And giving is what when we do it right, when we do it with our best, willingly, with our hand on its head, with the knife to the throat, no takebacks. When we do it completely, it puts us at one with Source. And we'll see it in expression because it puts us at one with each other. I'm going to leave you with this story I read. It's a true story. A man who made his living on the road was having estrangement with his wife, and in her view, it was largely because he was on the road so much, and they didn't have time together, which is anathema to relationship in so many situations. But he determined in himself, I do not want to lose my marriage. And she had told him she's done, she's through. So he comes home and he made this determination within himself that he was going to love her no matter what ensued, in conversation between the two of them. And it apparently had gotten fairly volatile. He comes home, he gets the cold shoulder. He decides that the evening came home, this is not the time to do what I plan to do, to say what I plan to say. So they end up retiring for the night. In the morning, when he woke up, and they did share the bed that night, when he woke up, according to his account, he leaned over to her and he says, what can I do to make your life better? And she, very sarcastic, because she's done with him. Well, you can get up and wash the dishes and wash the clothes and vacuum the house. He said, okay. He got up and he did all that. And she was snide about it and like, yeah, there's, what's that going to cost me? But he continued day in and day out to say, what can I do to make your life better? And some time went by, but as he continued to do this and give himself. See, men ought to love their wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. Every day he'd say, what can I do to make your life better? And she'd give him a list. He'd do it. And he did it with a smile. And he did it with no snideness. And after a period of time, it woke up the love in her. Do you know the Bible does not tell a woman to love her husband? It tells the husband to love the wife. You know why? Because if the wife loves the husband, it's a given that the wife is going to love him back. If the husband loves the wife, it's a given that the wife will love him back. And he proved this. And he proved it by doing the single most powerful thing one human being can do toward another, and that's give. In this case, he gave himself. And the result of him giving himself was atonement at one moment. It just does. It brings us together like nothing else does. If you want to change your situation, give. Really give. Sometimes it's giving money, but I would say that's the least part of what giving really is. It's the least. That's, one of our grandchildren wanted a puppy, and we said, well, we'll buy the puppy. They finally found the puppy, and we got online and we paid for the puppy. They thanked us, and I said, we did the easy part. You got to train that puppy not to poop on your house. They're going to have to give themselves to that dog. And the dog will give itself back to them, become a member of their family. It will happen. We did the easy part. You can't even hardly call that giving, except that we were so excited to do it because this grandchild wanted that puppy so bad. So we were happy to be able to do it. But that was easy. Mom and Dad are doing the hard part. Whatever you find yourself in circumstantially, if you don't like it, give your way out of it. Be a giver. Listen, if you don't like your financial situation, give your way out of it. If you don't like a relationship the way it is, give yourself into a better one. Now, here's what I can tell you. I can't tell you what it will look like specifically on the other side of the gift, but I can tell you this unequivocally. It's going to look good. I just don't know what it will look like. Are y'all good?
Yeah.
This is what, in my view, Leviticus is about. It's about giving appropriately, the art of giving. You want to go through it one more time and then we're done? I got to give my best. The best that I can do. I got to do it with all my heart. I got to do it willingly. I got to do it with my hand on its head. In other words, I have to be emotionally engaged. And I have to do it with no intention of ever taking it back. I say this little thing with regard to that. There's been many people I've loved, and one person in particular that I loved that I felt did me really, really wrong. But I can't help it. I already loved him, and I can't unlove him. It's just already done. When you give it, kill it. No take-backs. The result will be atonement. It will make you one with God, one with your fellow, one in your marriage, one in your workplace. You will experience oneness. That's what atonement is about. That is, in my estimation, the art of giving. God bless you. God keep you. May His face smile upon you till we meet again. And I plan on meeting again.